All right, everybody. Good to see you guys out there. Today, we're going to be talking all about how to start using ChatGPT for you coaches that have heard about it, that are curious, or have started to use it but want to bump up your game, right? So, that's the topic of today, guys. So, if this sounds of interest, you guys are going to love what we're going to be talking about. Give me a shout out in the comments, guys. Say, hey, let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. Don't want to be talking into the void. So let me know, guys. If you guys can hear me, let me know where you guys are coming from in the world. We have a very international crew of coaches here, and I love to see where you guys are coming from. So give me a shout out to your home country. Happy 4th of July to my fellow Americans. It's kind of crazy that I'm not even doing it on a holiday over here, but I figured for the sake of consistency, I will show up and deliver for you coaches as I promised. We are going to be wrapping things up here shortly and heading over to our bigger family and Sweden. What is up? What's up from Texas? Zan, good to see you. And gonna do some grilling, some burgers, some brats, all some other good stuff. So before we get to that, everybody, let's talk about how we as coaches can use ChatGPT to our benefit, how we should view it as an assistant, as a help, and just what all this means moving forward, right? All right, coaches, let's rewind the clock and we'll get into some tangible examples here in just a second. But let's rewind the clock, everybody, back to November of last year. That is when OpenAI, the company that developed ChatGPT and released it, dropped it on the world. Um, it became a kind of a sensation overnight, so to speak. It became the fastest growing application in the world. Kind of a crazy thing. I knew it was going to be a big deal when I started to see stories on the news about teachers being worried that kids are going to use ChatGPT to write them essays. I started seeing stories about people using it to make meal plans, all this craziness, right? So, naturally had to check it out. That's when my AI journey really accelerated. And I was like, man, this is pretty crazy stuff, everybody. And it's going to start to change the world. Anyways, that's why we're talking about it today. And just quick catch you coaches up that, maybe hadn't been in the loop. Um, ChatGPT dropped last year, guys. The world started on fire, related to this whole AI thing. We've moved forward since. So we're about 6, 7, 8 months into this new AI era, so to speak. And for those of you that have heard about it and that have been curious, or those that have dabbled but want to bump up your game, today is for you. All right, everybody. So that little setup there, everybody. Let me know also if you guys have questions. Drop them in the comments, and I will try to answer them as we go, or I will get them to them at the end. But feel free to do that, guys, at any point. All right. So today is going to be a little bit of a primer. So bear with me, coaches, if you guys are a little knowledgeable of how this all works. But for those that are just dipping their toes into the water and want a little bit of a beautiful pump up the game, Zan, amen. Um, there's always something to learn. That is one thing that I have learned. No matter how many times I hear it, I always leave knowing a little bit more than I did when I first started. All right, guys. So those just trying to figure this out, setting up a Chat GPT account is actually quite easy and it's free, right? So I would just go to Google, type in Chat GPT, and you're going to basically create an account. It's going to look like this. Sometimes, so there are a couple different views here, everybody. This is on dark mode. You will probably start it in light mode. It's going to look like this. You can change this. I personally kind of prefer the dark mode there. And you're going to come to a screen like this, everybody. And this is actually one of the big innovations that OpenAI discovered when they launched ChatGPT, because originally they honestly didn't expect for it to blow up as it did. But turns out by creating a clean, simple interface where people are simply chatting or messaging with the AI model. The model is the underlying AI system, everybody, for those who don't know. So, developing some type of basic chat system where you can literally type messages and get a response turned out to be very popular and very simple and effective. Right, so that's how ChatGPT is set up. You basically come into this chat screen, everybody, and you can talk to the AI. Right, so text to text, right, and ChatGPT is really good at a couple things. Right, ChatGPT is really good at understanding our language. That's one of those things that anybody that has messed around with Siri or Google Assistant or Alexa can probably relate to. Is you might say something and they totally don't understand what you are saying or what you intended. ChatGPT, on the other hand, is very good at understanding your intent and what you mean to say, right? And so that's one thing. The other thing, guys, is ChatGPT really introduced to the world this idea of something called generative AI, right? So it's an AI system that can actually do things for you, or it can do things for you on your behalf, or it can generate things, right? So some of the first instances of this, everybody, was AI imagery, right? So AI systems creating beautiful, so at first they weren't very beautiful, but images, basically, you know image generated by AI that looked just like human generated images, right? And they've gotten to the point where you have all basically photorealistic images that just look like somebody took it with a camera, right? So you started to see this thing where these AI systems started to create images. Now they're starting to create video. Now they're starting to, well, all kinds of things with text, right? So ChatGPT really ushered in this era of generative. Hey, Brittany, what's up? Oregon, hey, hey. ChatGPT really ushered in this era of text-based AI interaction, right? So any type of written thing, right? So writing an essay, writing a poem, um, writing a quiz, all these written things, these AI systems, turns out they're pretty good at. All right. So, anyways, you have this explosions of capability. Today, we're going to talk about this written, this text written response type system, right? And so, when it comes to ChatGPT coaches and using this thing that blew up at the end of last year, there's a couple basic pointers for all of you trying to learn how to embrace this new thing. The best way I like to think about ChatGPT in terms of the coaching world is I like to think of it like a team member, right? So hang on here, everybody. So play along with me here. So you might be a solopreneur, where you wear all the hats. You also might be a small business owner that has a small team of assistants or VAs helping you in your business, right? Helping you with lead generation, helping you with fulfillment, whatever it is, you might have a team, right? Zan, so when it first came out, it did not have access to the internet. That has now changed. So ChatGPT, if you upgrade ChatGPT to ChatGPT Plus, so Zan's question, everybody, was, can it explore the internet? So originally, no, but it can now if you folks upgrade from the basic version to the paid version of ChatGPT, which is ChatGPT Plus. It enables ChatGPT to do things like search the internet, this kind of thing, right? So the answer is yes. It wasn't at first, but now it can. So as long as you upgrade the version, you can say. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So going back to how to think about this, coaches. So the best way I like to think about this is another team member if you have a small team, or if you don't have a team yet, coaches. I like to think about this as your first hire, so to speak, right? So if you upgrade, like I just mentioned, with Ian, if you bump it from free ChatGPT to ChatGPT Plus, which is $20 a month, I believe it's. And if you guys are thinking about delving into AI, I would highly recommend spending the $20. It is well worth your investment. Essentially, what you do is you get access to the latest features that OpenAI is opening up. And one of those is, like I just said, it allows ChatGPT to access the internet, to search on your behalf, and it opens up a bunch of other doors. So the way I like to think about this, everybody, is ChatGPT can be either an additional team member or a first hire, so to speak, for $20 a month, which is a pretty good steal. Right now, this team member of yours, coaches, is a little different than your average human team member. It is both the smartest team member you'll ever meet and the dumbest all at the other time, all at the same time, right? We, as smart as it is, it still is a computer system, and these computer systems, everybody, while they are smart, they still make some really dumb mistakes, right? And so it's good to know and understand their strengths and weaknesses, right? So that's kind of how I like to, how I like to contextualize and think about this thing, this chatbot that is very smart and can make me a meal plan and help me with my kids' homework or make a story. This, right? So here, guys, let's take Brittany's question, everybody. So Brittany is wondering, I thought ChatGPT got its information, its data from the internet, no matter the version. So yes and no, Brittany. So when when OpenAI trained ChatGPT, they trained ChatGPT on massive amounts of data from the internet. That is correct. So originally, when ChatGPT first came out, it was trained basically on everything from 2001 and older, right? So basically, its training stopped in 2001, and it was unaware of things past its training date, you could say, right? So the data that it had trained on had stopped, and that's why when you first, back in November, when we first started playing with the system, everybody, um, it would say things like, I'm a language model and I've only been trained up to something 2021, right? So that's where the internet comes in here, guys, where let's say you want to ask it about what's going on in your town this weekend. Is there anything fun for the kids to do? That's when it would need to be connected to the internet so it can go out and get up-to-date information, right? I hope that makes sense, Brittany. So yes, but only up until a certain point at which its training stopped, and then it needs to go out and look for the information to get the freshest, newest information off the bat, right? I hope that makes sense, Brittany. All right. All right, so really quick, guys. So going back to this idea of ChatGPT is a team member. It's an AI team member that can help you with all kinds of different things, right? Now, this team member is special in a couple different ways. So you guys know how I said it is both the smartest and the dumbest thing that you will ever meet. It is because it's not human, and it is getting better all the time, right? So underlying ChatGPT, guys, are these models. They call them language models, and there's different versions of these language models. So without getting too technical, everybody, when ChatGPT first came out, it was built on something called GPT 3.5. So you could think of this kind of like version 3.5, and then several months later, version GPT-4 came out, which is a newer, more powerful, upgraded model. came out earlier this year, and it was quite a bit better than the original GPT 3.5. That's the underlying technology. So as time goes on, and as OpenAI, the company that built ChatGPT, comes out with newer and more powerful models, these things will change, right? These things, it's going to get smarter and smarter and smarter. And that's why, honestly, jumping in at this point, guys, when this AI team member is still smart but still learning things and making mistakes, it's a good time to get in. All right, so because it is the way it is, everybody, there's a few things I want you coaches to know, right? So the first thing you coaches should understand about ChatGPT is that in order to get the best results from your prompts or your requests or your questions, the more specific the request, the better, right? So just a little example, guys. Let's say you want ideas for dinner, right? If you just say, ChatGPT, give me an idea for my family of 5 for dinner for my family of 5, right? It's just going to spit out something pretty generic, which is fine. But the more specific you can be, the better, right? So instead of just saying, give me dinner ideas, I want you to give me Italian dinner ideas with a Mediterranean flair for, under 1,000 calories or something like that, right? So if the more specific you coaches can be in your prompts, that's one of those words you'll hear a lot, guys. Prompts are simply requests of ChatGPT. So the things you come down here in the search box or message box and send it, the better the output, right? So the more specific you guys can be, the better. And another really helpful way to think about things, guys, is that ChatGPT can get you coaches 50 to 80% of the way there. But almost always, you coaches are going to have to take what it gives you and refine it, work with it, right? So literally like a fellow team member that prepares you a first draft of something. Let's say you have a I don't even know, a copywriter, and the copywriter prepares some ad copy for you. You're going to look at that ad copy, you're going to evaluate it, you're going to ask them to make a few tweaks, and then they're going to get it back to you. That's the kind of thing you're going to need to do, coaches, with ChatGPT. You literally will ask it to do something for you. It will get something back, and then you can ask it to do something again with the thing it just gave you, right? Does that make sense, guys? So you're going to do a lot of refining. This is what you'll find is as you start to work with ChatGPT, this new AI team member of yours, you're going to ask it to do something. You're going to notice that a lot of this is good, but it's a little off. It doesn't sound like me. And you're going to ask it to go refine this thing, make this longer. Please expand on this thing. Please, do this or that, right? The best part about this assistant, guys, is that it will never complain. It will never be offended. It just is there to serve on your behalf. So that's one of those differences. All right, coaches, let me give you a few real life examples that I have actually pulled from our membership. So some of you guys know there's a AI for Coaches membership. Zan, shout out to Zan for recently joining. Anyways, a few examples I pulled from here to give you guys just some real life examples of how you could start taking this truly virtual AI assistant and applying it to us as coaches. All right. So one of the many things that ChatGPT is great for is market research. Let me give you guys an example. Right. Without getting into the details, everybody, I created a scenario where, so really quick, guys, before I say what I was going to say, ChatGPT is also very good at playing roles or personas, right? Or imitating things, right? So you can say, I want you, I want you to write a poem in the style of Shakespeare, right? And it will write you a poem in the style of Shakespeare. Now you can do this with all kinds of other things, right? So this is another pro tip, everybody out there. So it is good to do something called priming. And priming, everybody, is when you basically set the role or the persona that you want ChatGPT to imbue, right? So in this case, I'm going to tell ChatGPT to play the role of an expert messaging coach. All right. So once again, the more specific coaches you can be, the better. So right here, I'm saying as an expert messaging coach for a female. So, okay. So this is an example where I created a scenario where ChatGPT is acting like a messaging coach for a female health coach, right? So kind of crazy. I hope you guys can follow along here. So, as an expert messaging coach for a female health coach, helping moms that just gave birth lose 20 pounds in 90 days, your task is to generate unique and compelling insights into their ideal client. Right? So this is an example, everybody, of ChatGPT doing market research on your behalf. So if you've ever wondered what your ideal target market is thinking or feeling, this is a great application. First of all, can you guys see this okay? Let me know if I should zoom in. Let me know, guys, if I should zoom in or not. But anyways, I kind of prep these in advance so we don't have to actually watch it all happen. But what you basically do is you set up the prompt, you kind of tell it what you want it to do. And right here, you can tell it to create a table or however you want the information to be presented. And ChatGPT is going to just pump this out. And if you guys can see it, it's going to break it down into categories. So I have fears, right? Possible ideal client challenges. So some of the fears for this mom who just gave birth, trying to lose weight, is fear of loose skin and stretch marks after they lose weight. So this might be a fear. Fear of postpartum depression affecting their weight loss journey. Fear of not having enough energy to care for their newborn while focusing on weight loss, right? So these are possible fears that ChatGPT thinks your ideal client might have, right? Now, you just kind of go down the list here: frustrations, wants, needs, desires, challenges, things that they are afraid of missing out. So, as you coaches might see, this can be extremely helpful as a starting place to understanding your ideal client to help you with your messaging and communication, right? This is one of those things, especially new coaches and coaches just getting the field struggle with, is knowing how to properly communicate with their ideal client, right? What are they feeling? What is their fears, hopes, desires, this kind of thing. Anyways, as you can see, very helpful, clean. And right here, it actually gives you options to just copy these things. You can copy this right into a Google Docs or a Word doc or something like that. You have this awesome thing. Now you can go up or down. I just said, please give me 5 different things here. That would be great. You could say, give me 10 different fears, 10 different frustrations. So that is one example, right? So market research, that's an example, guys. Let me show you another example, everybody. This has to do with content creation. If any of you coaches have been in this game very long, at some point you may have struggled with content ideas, simply not knowing what the heck you should do in your marketing content, especially content that is relevant to your ideal target market, right? So once again, you set this prompt up and it's going to create something. Now, in this case, I learned this from some other guys, but this is a content matrix. And basically, it's going to give you a nice overview of ideas and suggestions hyper relevant to whatever the target market you put in, right? So in this case, the scenario is this is for a relationship coach helping shy women go on a first date. Helping shy women have a first date and to do it well, right? So if you're, trying to think of ideas for your marketing content, ChatGPT is a really good place to start, right? So right here, it's going to give you mistakes. Now, right here, guys, the way I set this up is a lot of us coaches do three things, right? We're either trying to get more clients, sales and marketing, we're trying to serve existing clients, client fulfillment, or we're trying to develop our programs further, right? And so I literally created columns with these things in it. So in this case, I'm talking to other coaches that do this, right? So anyways, but just give you guys an idea without getting in the weeds here. I have mistakes, myths, belief shifts. So one of the big things coaches we do with our content is help shift beliefs, right? Hacks and tricks, lead magnet ideas. So these are all lead magnet ideas relevant to your ideal client market. Anyways, as you guys can see, ChatGPT is a beast at producing content ideas. So you basically will never run out of ideas if you feel like that's something you struggle with. This team member is efficient. All right, one last example, guys, and we'll wrap this up. I know we're kind of going long today. Thank you guys for hanging out. This long. So for this final example, guys, we're going to use ChatGPT, or this virtual team member, AI powered team member, to critique our message and offer an alternative, right? I want it to critique our current message and offer a revision. And this is also a good example of refinement, right? Refine, coaches. So this was actually an example that somebody in the membership asked me to offer as an example, so that ChatGPT could to improve it, right? So this is where this coach helps female entrepreneurs. Anyway, so he gave me the starting message that he had, and I'm going to say, once again, guys, I'm going to prime ChatGPT to be an expert messaging coach. You are an expert messaging coach. Please evaluate the following words by pointing out the core messaging weaknesses and offer clear, helpful ways of making it better. So I'm asking it to critique this message and offer a better alternative version, right? So this is where ChatGPT is going to point out the strengths. Your message conveys empathy and understanding. You identify a clear target audience, entrepreneurial women. And then it goes down to weaknesses, right? There's a weakness in clarity, punctuation, consistency, and tone. And then it offers a revision, right? It literally will offer you a revision to its critique of you based on that information. Very cool. So not only does it not end there, everybody, but this is where you can refine it, right? So it gave you a version, which I thought was a little long at the time. So I said, now rewrite this in only one sentence. There it goes. It shortens it to be one sentence. And then, anyways, you can go back and forth until you get to a place where you feel like it's good. All right, coaches. So I'm not going to take any more time of yours right now, but those were 3 examples: market research, content idea generation, and messaging critique, where it literally critiqued you, offered you a revision, and then we went back and forth with it until we got it to a place where we liked it. Those are 3 practical examples, coaches. You are welcome, Zan. I'm glad you jumped on the call. And those are 3 examples, coaches, of this new generation of AI assistants literally becoming like partners in our businesses, right? Now, like I mentioned, they are not perfect. They are getting better over time. There's a saying in the AI world that it will never, this is the worst it will ever be, meaning next year there's going to be a better, more powerful version, and the year after that, an even better, more powerful version than that. So I would highly recommend you coaches dive headfirst in, start playing around with it, be specific in your prompts, work with it like literally like a fellow team member, refine it, ask it a request, read it, tweak it, ask it to modify it. The more you coaches play around with it, the better you will be. All right, coaches, that is how you get started with ChatGPT. I hope this wasn't too much over your head, and I hope it was helpful and useful to those that have already dabbled. Thank you guys for hanging out. I will see you in the group, in Messenger, or next week. Thank you, coaches. See you guys later. Bye for now.